Good afternoon and welcome to USDA's Spring Data Users Meeting. My name is Lance Hoding and I serve as chair of the NASS Agricultural Statistics Board. I'll be your moderator for today's session. We're glad to have you all joining us. This meeting is a partnership between us here at USDA and all of you as a part of our data user community. I hope you find this semi-annual exchange to be as valuable as we do. As a reminder, we're here today to discuss each of our programs of work, the various data products we provide, the procedures and methodologies involved in these valuable programs, and any changes related specifically to these programs and products. The budget for USDA and other federal agencies for FY25 was signed into law on March 15th of this year. We can discuss our plans as of now for fiscal year 2025, or for activities that are not dependent on future annual appropriations. However, as is typical for a new administration, the president's budget planning process for FY26 is still ongoing and not yet public, so we will not be entertaining questions that involve fiscal year 26 funding. All right, so before we get into our actual program, as usual, we do have a few housekeeping notes to go over. First off, we are offering closed captioning for anyone who might find it difficult to hear the discussion. You'll find the closed captioning button on the ribbon at the bottom of your screen. As we have done in past meetings, the recordings, slides, and Q&A transcripts will be available on our website sometime after the meeting this week. If some unforeseen event or technical problem occurs, which we certainly hope will not, we'll try to deal with it as quickly as we possibly can. If for some reason we're unable to actually fix the issue and have to end and restart, we'll be communicating with each of you via the email that you used for your registration, likely with a new link to resume the meeting. So as I said, hopefully that won't be necessary, but should it happen, make sure you check that email that you used to register. Given the size of the group and the virtual aspect of this meeting, we're certainly going to dispense with audience introductions, but I will include your name when reading questions during the open forum. Speaking of questions, at the bottom of the screen on the ribbon, you should see a Q&A button. That's where you will be posting your questions. And in fact, if you'd like, you can go ahead and start posting questions now for when we get to those after our panelists share some comments. There is also a chat window where we will be monitoring for any technical issues, and we'll also be posting some links potentially there to files as we go along, as we reference things. That's where we would drop those links. There's also an option where you can, quote, raise your hand. If you're having some difficulty and unable to get the help that you need, we'll try to keep an eye on that and have somebody reach out to you through the email, again, that you gave us to communicate that way. Vincent Davis will be helping me to monitor all of these streams. And by the way, if you have a colleague that would like to join last minute that didn't get registered, Vincent can help with that as well. We do have many attendees and distinguished guests from around the world, including folks from Statistics Canada and Mexico's agricultural statistics organizations joining us today as well. All right, next up, we've got an agenda here for you. Pretty short, pretty straightforward for us today. As you can see, in just a few moments, our panelists are going to provide you with the agency updates, as is customary for this event. Once that is complete, we're going to jump straight into our Q&A session. We'll take a short break somewhere around 1:20 Eastern time, and then we'll come back shortly after that and finish up the rest of the Q&A session. And we plan to have everything wrapped up by 2:30 Eastern time this afternoon. In an email that you got from Marissa yesterday, we did attach a file that contains highlights from each of the participating agencies here today. You may want to take a look at that for additional discussion beyond what the panelists share here in just a few moments. And FYI, if you did register later yesterday or this morning, the file that I'm referring to here will be available on our website tomorrow. All right, so last but not least for me, for the moment at least, here is a listing of our distinguished agency representatives who will be fielding your questions today. I would point out that we do also have representatives from both EIA and RMA joining us to cover questions for their respective agencies as well. And I'm sure our panelists will be tapping into some additional staff beyond themselves as the Q&A unfolds in a few moments. So for each of the panelists, I'm going to ask that you please introduce yourself and provide some brief remarks. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Ryan Scott at the Foreign Ag Service. So Ryan, get us started.
Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Scott again. I am currently serving as your Acting Deputy Administrator for FAS's Global Market Analysis. FAS is planning to roll out the new export sales reporting and query system in late 2025. This enhanced IT architecture will help us comply with new security protocols. For a seamless transition to the new system, we count on both exporters and data users to actively participate in training, demonstrations, and testing. This new system will provide the same data and reports, but in a better format. You will receive periodic updates from FAS and the Gov delivery system over the next several months, notifying you of progress and key milestones. Specific dates for trainings, demonstrations, and testings will be shared with data users no later than June 30th, 2025. From July through September, there will be demonstrations and training of the new system for data users. In July, we will also begin soliciting volunteers to test the new system and to provide us with feedback on the upgraded query system, the format and its usefulness, and the ability to connect to the API and automated downloads. Now, we ask all data users to please participate in at least one demonstration. This will help avoid inconveniences and mishaps on rollout day. Our export sales reporting staff will be available from now until the rollout to respond to questions and comments. Thank you very much for your time today.
All right, I think I am up next. My name is Mark Jekanowski. I am the chairman of the World Agricultural Outlook Board. And just a brief reminder of what we do here at the World Board. Our primary output is the monthly WASDE report. And we also publish several important and popular agricultural weather reports, including the weekly weather and crop bulletin and daily weather highlights. And we also coordinate the USDA's Ag Outlook Forum. So thank you to all of you who attended this year's Ag Outlook Forum back in February, the 27th and 28th. We had about 1,500 people in person and roughly another 5,000 or so who joined virtually. So we had a great turnout, and if you did join, I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned a little bit more about all that's going on here at USDA. Right now, we're preparing for the May WASDE, and as most of you probably know, May is the month where we put out our first official forecasts for the new crop year and the new calendar year for the livestock reports. So typically, if we're ever going to make changes to our data or to the format of our tables within the WASDE, May is when we do that. This year, I have just one. It's important, but relatively minor change to report, and that is a change in the data that we're using to forecast hog prices. So beginning in May, the hog price forecast, it's still going to be based on AMS data, but we are going to be moving away from the national base lean hog price that historically was used because that data series is soon to be discontinued. So we will be moving instead to the National Daily Direct Hog Report, the net price of all hogs sold by producers. So similar metric, but there's gonna be a slight discontinuity in that data going into May as we make that shift, but we still believe that this is a good representation of the hog prices received by producers. And I think that is all I have. So I'm gonna turn it over next to Troy, I believe, and we'll look forward to answering any of your questions that come up in the Q&A. Thank you again.
Hello, everyone. My name is Troy Joshua, and thanks, Mark. I work for the National Agricultural Statistics Service. I am the director of the Statistics Division. At NASS, we remain deeply committed to our mission, delivering timely, accurate, and useful statistics that empowers the agricultural community and policymakers to make well-informed decisions. I'm excited to announce the reinstatement of our key county estimates programs for crops and livestock. These programs, scheduled for release in the coming months, provide critical insights that are instrumental for stakeholders across the agricultural sector. Next slide. In addition to these programs, we are releasing several impactful reports, including our upcoming chemical use and technology use reports. These will offer valuable insights informing practices and technological advancements, enhancing decision-making for producers and industrial leaders alike. Mark your calendars for August 1, when we will be releasing the latest technology use data. This biennial report, first introduced in 1997, offers important trends in farm computer usage, including access, ownership, farm businesses, application, and internet use. Next slide, please. Over the past year, we have delivered a wealth of new data products to serve the diverse needs of the stakeholders. This includes state and county profiles, congressional district profiles, watershed, ag census web maps, specialty crops, zip codes, tabulations, just to name a few. Next slide, please. Furthermore, our recent and upcoming release for the U.S. territories demonstrate our dedication to delivering comprehensive insights across all regions. The Census of Agriculture for the Northern Mariana Islands was released in February 27th, followed by the U.S. Virgin Islands on March 27th. More recently, on April 24th of 2025 of this year, the Census of Agriculture data for Guam and American Samoa was made available. Looking ahead, we are making significant progress for the 2025 Census of Agriculture Special Studies. This includes the tenure, ownership, transition of agricultural land studies, also known as TOTAL, scheduled for release on October 31st. The Census of Horticulture Specialties, set to be released on December 16th. These studies are essential for understanding trends in land management and horticultural production on the national scales. Next slide. As always, your feedback is very invaluable. It enables us to refine and improve our programs to better serve the agricultural community. Thank you for your ongoing support for NASS. We heard you, we listened to you. We want to make sure that you trust us to provide the data that drives decision-making and innovation across the agricultural sector. Thanks a lot, and I'm looking forward to the open forum. I think next we have Jen from ERS. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you, Troy. I'm really glad to be joining leadership from so many of the agencies that we at ERS work with closely and with stakeholders who are users of our data analysis and reports. In my role as Deputy Director for Outlook and Staff Analysis, myself and my team edit and post hundreds of products each fiscal year, many of them data related. And the feedback at meetings like this has influenced our data efforts, and we really do appreciate the comments. So I'll be looking forward to the Q&A. Today, I'm going to briefly provide an overview of ERS before shifting into a discussion of the products we've released this fiscal year, issues at the forefront of our thinking, and to also give an overview of our data suites and significant updates that we've made since the last data users meeting in October. Next slide, please. Thank you. For those less familiar with the Economic Research Service and our mission, we are USDA's principal social science research agency. Our mission is to anticipate trends and emerging issues in agriculture, food, and the environment, as well as rural America, and to conduct high-quality, objective economic research to inform and enhance public and private decision-making. We do a lot of things, such as looking at trends and emerging issues, forecasting U.S. and world agricultural markets, but we also work very hard to safeguard the privacy of data providers and provide data to everyone at the same time. Some things that we don't do, however, are regulated activities, permit influence, disclose individual reports, and favor any group above others. Next slide, please. These are part of our responsibilities as one of 13 principal primary statistical agencies. And we ensure the public trust by following federal statistical directives for the Office of Management and Budget, coordinating activities with their Office of Statistical and Science Policy. Next slide, please. Each year, our staff produce a variety of products, including data and research analysis on local, national, and global issues pertaining to food and agriculture. In fiscal year 24, ERS produced 400 publications and 104 journal articles, helping everyone from policymakers to consumers make better informed decisions. In the last week alone, we have published the Vegetable and Pulses Outlook Report and Data Product, the Food Price Outlook, 2 research reports, and multiple data products, including the Livestock and Meat Domestic Data Product, where you can find current and historical data on pork, beef, veal, and poultry, including production, supply utilization, and farm gate prices. This week, we'll also be releasing the semi-annual commodity cost and returns data suite based on ARMS data, along with multiple milk production data products. We also participate widely in industry conferences and provide regular webinars, including our popular data trading webinar series, where stakeholders can learn more about what they can do to find and use ERS data. Next slide, please. Using the vehicle of our many publication outlets and informed by data developed in-house, but also routinely sourced from partners at NASS, FAS, Census, World Ag Outlook Board, and more, we report on a number of issues at the forefront of public and policymakers' concerns. In fact, when government leaders, ranging from the Secretary of Agriculture to agency heads to Congress and the White House, need analysis to inform policy decisions on a variety of emerging challenges, they frequently turn to us to provide trusted economic information. We base our analysis on data, often paired with state-of-the-art forecasting techniques, to examine emerging issues, including many of the following. Animal disease is routinely reported on in the monthly Livestock, Dairy, and Poultry Outlook Report, including discussions on the spread and market impacts of HPAI. Trade policy is one of our emerging issues, including projections of how trade policy may impact the outlook for U.S. agricultural trade. Food prices and inflation are reported on through the Food Price Outlook Data Suite, which was updated last Friday, and our macroeconomic data suite, which was updated just a few weeks ago. We also examine issues linked to rural prosperity using ARMS survey data and the Census of Agriculture, with regular reporting via the Farm Income Forecast and Cost and Return Data Suite and more. We also report on a number of other issues and are able to put out timely charts of note that discuss topics of the day and help to inform the public. Next slide, please. We don't have a lot of time today to delve deeply into the dozens of data suites that ERS produces, but I wanted to share a bit of an overview of the major data categories and provide a few updates here. For animal products and crops, this includes our popular meat price spreads product, our livestock domestic meat data, and several crop yearbook suites. All told, 7 of these products have started to publish machine-readable files just since our last data users meeting. Machine-readable format will facilitate automated extraction and processing of our data, which we hope will enhance the usability. For farm income and farm economy, this includes the Farm Income Data Suite, which beginning in September will include kale and beet cash receipts estimates at both the state and the national level. We'll also be releasing detailed national and state expenditures for specific fuels, including diesel, gasoline, natural gas, LP gas, oils and lubricants, and all other fuels. A variety of food and consumer-related data products are published under the Food Choices and Health, Food Markets and Prices, and Food Safety data categories. In June, ERS will release updated annual national and state data on the food expenditure series. And this food expenditure series will include monthly updates through April of 2025. There are also a number of forthcoming releases planned on price spreads from farm to consumer, cost estimates for foodborne illness, food environmental atlas, and the food availability data system is undergoing updates, with individual commodity files being loaded as they are ready. The International Market Status Suite includes the congressionally mandated long-term projections or baseline, for which we are pleased to report newly available machine-readable files of both the International Macroeconomic Status Set as well as the International Baseline Projections to 2034. Baseline development is a collaborative process between ERS, the World Ag Outlook Board, FAS, and others, and supports the development of the President's budget. The natural resource and environmental set includes the major land uses data series, which is the longest running, most comprehensive accounting of all major uses of public and private land in the US. The series started in 1945 and has since been published about every 5 years, coinciding with the Census of Agriculture. And it was last updated and published on our website just a few short weeks ago. So there's some fresh data. Finally, for rural economy and population, as well as U.S. agricultural trade, pleased to report that we are now publishing the foreign agricultural trade data of the U.S. suite by country and year in both conventional Excel and machine-readable formats. We're also anticipating a late June publication of our popular agricultural trade multipliers data products. Next slide, please. There we go. Thank you. So what do we do with all this great data? Well, one of the most popular expressions of the data is our ever popular Charts of Notes series, where you'll find snapshots of ERS research. These are regularly shared on social media and used by members of the press and folded into departmental outreach efforts. Here we have a couple recent examples discussing aquaculture, farm size, shares of the food dollars spent on marketing, total factor productivity, linkages between drought and the U.S. cattle herd size, and monthly food price forecasts. Today, we released a kind of fun chart of note, actually, that builds on the recent Fruit and Tree Nuts Outlook report and data release that discusses wine grape production by variety using NASS data. Next slide, please. Another collaboration with NASS is the ongoing release of charts of note linked to the Census of Agriculture. This one in particular shows that cropland is increasingly being covered by crop insurance based on that census data. From 2017 to 22, the share of cropland acres covered by any federal, private, or other crop insurance program grew, particularly among small and medium-sized farms. Rising participation rates indicate expanding use of crop insurance products to manage risks faced by smaller agricultural organizations. Next slide, please. In addition to the popular charts of note, ERS produces longer format charting tools called data visualizations. In fact, we now have more than 60 interactive data visits that are often updated concurrently with the updates to the underlying data product. For example, when the commodity cost and returns data is released this week on Thursday, the data visualization will also be updated and allow data users to interact with the data, viewing regional and commodity-specific data for 16 individual commodities and a large variety of cost and returns estimates. Next slide, please. Another popular viz is our total U.S. agricultural exports and imports visualization. Here, users can scroll across both maps to find U.S. trade forecasts by country. So this and our cost and return viz are both fairly popular, but they're again one of many that can be accessed on the ERS website. Next slide, please. Finally, I want to highlight some of our new research and outlook reports. ERS produces dozens of research reports every year and more than 90 commodity, specialty crop, and trade links outlook reports. Here you'll find deeper analyses of the markets, including issues at the forefront and analysis of a wide variety of contemporary data that is both our own and from our partner agencies. So I hope I've given you a broad overview of our programs and encourage you to visit our website and connect with our data products. Thank you for your feedback and support, and please be sure to subscribe for weekly updates on topics of interest and connect with us on social via X or LinkedIn. And again, should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you. I believe Tim is next. Yep.
Thank you, Jen. Always so impressed with the data products that ERS puts out It's just incredible. My name is Tim Gravlin. I'm data and analytics lead for the Farm Service Agency. I'm going to go through a few items of what's new since we last met. And Marissa, we've lost the slide for some reason. Okay.
It's just a title slide.
Oh,
You can
okay.
continue.
Oh, very good. Okay. We're going to go through a few updates since we last met in November then. First, the final crop acreage reporting data has been posted. That was posted back on January 2nd. So many of you are consumers of that data, and we're excited that that is out there and available. We're obviously in crop year 2025 right now, with the crop acreage reporting deadline for most commodities coming up July 15th. A new program that FSA launched since we last met is the Emergency Commodity Assistance Program. As a program authorized by Congress, it makes one-time economic assistance payments to help commodity producers mitigate impacts of the increased input costs and falling commodity prices. The application period for the ECAP program is now open, and it runs through August 15th. I want to drop a couple links in the chat for you all. These are data products that FSA has produced. The first one being a producer tool or a calculator. If you have producers in your area that are interested or may be interested in the ECAP program and maybe want to find out what type of assistance might be available to them, the top link there, the ECAP producer tool, will allow them to enter their acreage, and it has built in the rates for the major commodities covered under ECAP, and we'll give them a rough or general idea of the value of applying for that program and what a general payment expectation might be. So that's what the top link does. It's in your chat. The bottom link is another data product that we put out. That is a public dashboard anyone can get to in a web browser, and it'll show you that we've taken around 500,000 applications for this ECAP program so far, and the program has paid out more than $7 billion to date. So it's a pretty major program, and it is open right now for sign up. So I wanted to encourage you guys to look into the ECAP program. Another program that came out since we last met is the Marketing Assistance for Specialty Crops program. That is a program that helps producers who are faced by higher marketing costs and handling costs for specialty crops, perishable fruits, nuts, things like that. That program has taken more than 50,000 applications. The sign-up period ran from December through January. So that is another new program that I wanted to bring to y'all's attention. Thank you guys for your time today. Thanks for attending. I'm going to turn it over to Jason at this point. Jason?
Thank you, Tim. My name is Jason Carwell. I'm the director for Specialty Crops Market News and AMS. As always, AMS has continued to support a diverse array of agricultural operations, from individual farmers to international entities, providing invaluable services and creating opportunities for economic development in the agricultural industry. The support that AMS extends through various commodity-specific groups, including dairy, specialty crops, livestock, and poultry and grain, tobacco and cotton, and the Federal Grain Inspection Service. AMS also includes National Organic Program, Science and Technology Program, Transportation and Marketing Program. In addition, AMS provides regular oversight for over 20 research and promotion programs, and enforces critical federal regulations like Packers and Stockyards Act and the Perishable Commodities Act and the Seed Act. So a vital part of the AMS mission has always been our data offerings. AMS Market News continues to be a cornerstone of those offerings by providing free, unbiased, and comprehensive price and sales information on a wide range of commodities. These resources aid farmers, producers, and businesses in making informed decisions by evaluating market conditions, transportation costs, and more. Through the Market News data platform, AMS offers access to over 1,500 reports and data sets that are updated on a regular basis. Additionally, through the Market News APIs, users can download data in custom formats, enabling efficient and tailored access to vital information. AMS Market News also still offers the USDA mobile application that is available for download in both the Apple and Google app stores. And this app further ensures instant access to the market reports and data sets that we release every day. At the close of fiscal year 24, Market News had started to embark on an updated initiative designed to establish a common vision and cultivate a culture of innovative thinking within AMS. The goal of this initiative is for AMS Market News to become the trusted source of agricultural market intelligence within the industry. And we are continuing to work towards that goal through the different projects and initiatives we have within AMS. As part of that initiative, AMS Market News remains committed to improving our customer experience. We're providing greater access to agricultural market data through modern tools, and our efforts have not slowed as we moved into fiscal year 25. For instance, we have, over the past few months, transitioned several additional commodity market reports to our updated data platform. These include shelling prices, sod information, retail data for beef, pork, lamb, goat, chicken, and turkey, and eggs, and also the specialty crops movement data. Looking ahead to the rest of 2025, we are planning to expand this data even further. New offerings this year are planned to cover additional hay data, organic feed and food grains, daily livestock and poultry slaughter data, cotton price statistics, regional cream multiples, and fluid milk prices. In the recent past, AMS Market News has started developing tools on the Tableau visual analytics platform that offer more dynamic interaction with our data for users that might lack the resources to manage larger data sets. These tools help level the playing field, providing enhanced insights and ensuring our users have access to data regardless of their size or their place in the marketplace. Our commitment to dynamic data delivery started in July 2021 with the launch of the meat grading dashboard, which offers 10 years of quality grade and volume data for beef, lamb, and veal. Then in 2023, we released the livestock auction dashboard and the cattle contract library dashboard. That momentum continued in 2024 with the release of the livestock mandatory reporting live cattle dashboard, which makes LMR live cattle data especially accessible and accessible for further and deeper analysis of the data. In 2025, we plan to introduce a dedicated sheep and goat dashboard, as well as a dashboard workbook that will include access to all of the specialty crops information that we have available in our data portal, which includes terminal, shipping point, movement, and retail data. And then we plan to move on to focus on some specific dashboards for our cotton and dairy data sets. We believe these innovative tools are essential for providing market transparency and supporting informed decision-making within the agricultural industry, and these have also become increasingly popular with our customers. These dashboards can provide producers with the capability to access and analyze current market data in more detail, and we do plan to release more of these types of reports as we move into the future. AMS Market News does also continue to work directly with many states through our Fed-state cooperative agreements. These partnerships have helped enhance our market reporting activities across 30 different states by leveraging resources both at the federal and the state level to expand the breadth and depth of our market reports. This collaborative effort is and continues to be crucial in providing comprehensive and cost-effective coverage of our local markets. The Transportation and Marketing Program in AMS also continues to update its ag transport platform that offers access to USDA data for timely market decisions about moving agricultural products in the U.S. This open data platform includes numerous data sets and dashboards about various transportation modes. Recent additions include the Fertilizer Transportation Dashboard and the Pacific Northwest Barge Rate Data Series, providing broader visibility into the grain and transportation market. So I do want to thank NASS for inviting us here and providing us the opportunity to present, and we're looking forward to answering any questions the participants have in the next section of the meeting. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Sorry, Joseph.
Nope. No problem. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Joseph DeCampo with the U.S. Census Bureau. As always, I'd like to thank our colleagues at the USDA for inviting us to be a part of this semi-annual event. I am the section supervisor over foods and textiles in the International Trade Indicator Microanalysis branch of the Economic Indicators Division. Our group analyzes the underlying import and export data that goes into the monthly International Trade in Goods and Services press release, also known as the FT 900, which is a joint release with Stats Canada and the Bureau of Economic Analysis. As I'm sure you all know, our next data release for March data is going to be on May 6th. And of course, our data is available for free on USA Trade online. For any additional information, please consult the booklet that was provided in the email. And thank you all, and I look forward to a good discussion.
All right. Well, first off, let me just point out, I unmuted myself when Joe started talking, so there wouldn't be any risk of me forgetting this time. But panelists, you can all thank me because of that, none of you forgot to unmute when your turn came up because you saw how fun that is when that happens. So you're welcome. With that said, thank you to all the panelists. Really appreciate you sharing some comments about things that are going on with your agencies. And I can see from the Q&A that it did definitely serve to spark some questions going through people's minds. And so we've got a number of them there to get us started in our conversation. But just a quick reminder before I jump into them that the Q&A button on your ribbon, I want to say at the bottom, I hope it's on the bottom on your screen. It's on the bottom on mine. But that is the place where you can go in and type in any questions that you have, and we'll continue to work through those. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump on over to the Q&A, get us rolling with things there. So panelists, get ready. The first question that I see here is, and let me just say also, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to mention the names as I read the questions. Names can be tricky, so if I mispronounce your name, let me just apologize in advance. I'm sure some of these I probably will, and so don't take it personally. First question I see is from Bevan Everett. Looks like a NASS question. Are future county yield data releases going to occur on May 6th, like this year? So I'm going to turn that over probably to Patrick. You want to take that?
Sure. Thanks, Lance. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patrick Boyle. I'm the chief of NASS's Crops Branch and Statistics Division. So I'm assuming the question refers, I guess we do have corn, sorghum, and soybean county estimates coming out on May 6th this year. We do have a number of other county estimate products coming out throughout the month of May. So there are actually a number of publication dates as far as the county estimates program is concerned. I can tell you, looking ahead at 2026, we have not established our publication dates for the calendar year 2026. As most of you probably know, NASS produces an annual calendar every year towards the end of the year. We are having some initial discussions right now about 2026 publication dates, but we have not established those yet, specifically for county estimates. A lot of variables are coming into play there, looking at the 2026 calendar, so I can't guarantee anything yet for 2026. Not sure if Lance or Troy has any additions to that, but.
No, appreciate that, Pat. All right, next up from Karen Braun. Does USDA still believe in its trend yield methodology for U.S. corn yield? And are there any potential adjustments for this year? Does USDA consider last year's record yield of 179.3 bushels per acre as a below trend result. So Mark or Mike, I'm not sure who wants to tackle that one.
Yeah, this would go to Mike. Mike is our, Mike Jewison, our feed grains analyst here at the World Board.
Hello, everybody hear me okay? Karen, thank you for the question. Hope you are well. This is a subject we talk about quite a bit, it seems like, at these data users meetings. And I will say right off the bat that there's no set in stone methodology in terms of how we approach things. In any given month, every number is on the table. We are agnostic as to individual supply and demand items in the balance sheet and price, right? That's how we are, at least to be as objective as possible. And the latter part of that was, I guess it would depend on how do you define trend? How does one define trend? But I would say, generally speaking, last year's yield was probably modestly below trend.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. All right, let's see. We got a question from Hannah Hawkins. Could we get a world total endpoint added to the FAS GATS API? Ryan, I'm going to look to you for that one.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for the question. For that, we will talk to our GATS IT team to see if that is an option, and we'll need to follow up with you. Thank you.
All right, outstanding. All right, question from Gary W. Some in U.S. millet production estimate there may be in excess of 10 million acres of proso, foxtail, pearl, brown top, Japanese, and teff millets in the U.S. Why does USDA only report proso grain in 3 states? Pat, that sounds a lot like a NASS question, so I'm going to pass it to you.
Well, I'll take a swing at it. Yeah, proso millet, we do publish 3 states. The 3 states make up approximately 90% of the national production. I think there's around 500,000 acres, maybe a little bit less in recent years. And a lot of those other varieties, my understanding is they're used for hay or forage or grazing type practices in the United States. And we do capture those acres. We have a forage program. I believe there's 15, 17 states in our forage program. And then any crops cut for hay probably would be included in our other hay estimates as part of our annual program. And if we do look at adding, following every census, we do a thorough review of our programs and our products to make sure we are covering, the latest trends and the most relevant commodities. And so if and when we have an opportunity, we see those trends in after our census of agriculture every 5 years, we would add certain programs, and that is our process, or generally our process for adding programs like that. But like I said, those other varieties are typically for hay and forage, and they would be included in those programs in NASS's numbers.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. And Tim, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would point out that FSA does capture, I believe, those different types of millet in their 578 data, just be planted acreage, but there is some data from USDA available for that. All right, let's see. Jumping back in here, back to Karen Braun. What is the easiest way to find S&D numbers for individual EU countries beyond area yield production? Specifically, looking for trade, consumption, and stocks. Are there any plans to make this data available in the PSD online query? The countries appear available, but data does not populate.
Would that be a question for FAS that we can take on, sir?
That sounds
Okay.
appropriate to me.
Thank you. USDA does not publish individual EU member state trade, consumption, or stock figures because of the customs union for the EU. Trade figures only show extra EU trade, with the exception of cotton PS&D, which has been and will continue to be maintained on an individual level basis. Our team will post now FAQs, helpful information for you to take a closer look at that helps us answer this question for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ryan. All right, we've got a question here from Dan Charles. I'm going to go ahead and ask this question. I've got a comment on it that'll kind of apply to maybe some other questions as well. I'd like to know what effects the current or anticipated USDA staff reductions are having on data products. I'm specifically interested in the NRCS National Resources Inventory Program, including the Conservation Effects Assessment Project. Are those surveys or data collection efforts affected by staff reductions? I'm sure that many of you are aware that there's some efforts going on across not just USDA, but the federal workforce in general around workforce transformation and things of that nature. We're not going to be talking about those efforts here today or any questions around that topic. The Office of Communications at USDA is responsible for messaging around that topic, and so we're just going to refer you there and let you handle things through them that way. So moving on to our next question. We've got a question here. Based on high interest rates, any indication using any USDA data on farms debt level and how many farms have debt? The more recent data, the better. Anybody that wants to jump in here, Jen, I'm assuming you might want to jump in. If anybody else has anything after she's finished, please feel free as well.
Sure. Thanks, Lance. I'm actually going to punt to Carrie Lukowski, who's our farm income lead, and she is joining us as a panelist.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. URS does produce data in the farm income and wealth statistics on the U.S. balance sheet. So that includes information on assets and debt held by the farm sector. So we do have 2024 and 2025 forecasts of farm sector debt. These were done back in early February. So based on the conditions and assumptions at that time. So we are forecasting about a 1% increase in farm debt in 2025 when it's inflation adjusted. And then for the number of farms that have debt, we have data from the Agricultural Resource Management Survey, the ARMS survey. And in our web tool specifically, we have a farm business debt and repayment capacity report, which shows that in 2023, so that's the last data that we have, latest data we have in the ARMS web tool. It showed about 24% of farms had debt in 2023, but there is more data in that report on the ARMS web tool.
Thank you. Did anybody else want to weigh in on that one? Okay. Just don't want to leave anybody out. All right, moving on to a question from Carl Skold. For AMS, the dashboards are useful, but make it more difficult to pull historical data and update. Why not integrate in your other data products? Also, the weekly retail prices series changed this fall. It would be helpful to provide more data overall and a transition period along with notice of change. So Jason?
Yeah. So we do have some built-in functionality in the dashboards to download the data that is available in each calculation of that. And if you're not familiar with that, we can definitely have someone kind of show you how that works. And we've tried to tie that back as much as possible to the data, but we definitely would be open to any feedback you have on areas that aren't working well. And some of those, excuse me, it's kind of a work in progress at the moment. So please let us know, and we can definitely dig into that a little further as we implement those dashboards. I'm not familiar with what you're referring to in the changes in the retail data. So we would definitely, if you could provide us some more information, we could definitely take a closer look at that, what you're referring to.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Ryan, coming back to you for FA. This is a question from Mark. For FAS, if we are currently using the API for weekly exports, will there be any changes required with the new data rollout this year?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. There will be minor changes to the export sales. API may be required. FAS will advise data users of any changes before the system goes live. As a reminder, all data users should test the API when user acceptance testing becomes available. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Back to another question from Bevan Everett. Has ERS or other agency been tapped for input on the development of the 45Z tax credit or the RVOs created by or crafted by the EPA? It appears the strong reliance on veg oil imports and production restraints would require the agency's input. I'm gonna start with you, Jen.
Okay, thanks, Lance. The short answer to that is no, we have not been asked to provide input into the development of those tax credits. However, we do, routine reporting on market conditions, and also have a special article that I just linked in the chat that was put out by Brent Swearingen and Maria Bukowski in the, I think it was February Oil Crops Outlook, so relatively fresh. But yeah, to my knowledge, we have not been asked to provide input on that. Again, we just provide information on market conditions. I think Seth says something in the chat here. We in OCE have. Okay, so I'll pause. Thanks.
Yeah, I was just gonna note, this is Mark Jekanowski with the World Board. While the World Board doesn't, get involved in, policy type discussions and analysis, because that would be, kind of against our mission. Office of Chief Economist does, and in particular, the Office of Energy and Environmental Policy, led by Bill Hohenstein. They work closely with EPA and other agencies, making sure that there's some ag representation and expertise behind these policies. So USDA in general and OCE is involved.
All right, thank you for that, Mark. All right, moving on to a question from Mark Nelson for AMS. What's the timeline for soliciting candidates to serve on various checkoffs and specifically the USCP?
Well, I do know that AMS is working on those projects. I have not been directly involved in that, and I don't currently have anyone on the call today that is. So we'll have to follow up with an update on that after the meeting.
All right, thank you, Jason. And just as a reminder for folks, we will post the Q&A transcript sometime in the next several days. And so once we do that, we'll include, in cases like this where we need to gather more information, and there will be other questions like that we will encounter. We'll go ahead and make sure we get that in the transcript as well. All right. Let's see, question from Jamie Boley. I'd love to, well, not really a question, maybe more a comment. I'd love to see the crop progress report added to a USDA visualization. Anybody, that's good to know. We appreciate that. Anybody want to make a comment on that?
I just throw out there that while we don't have it integrated into the data visualization tool there, under our data and statistics tab, there's an area of charts and maps on our website, and there is a litany of data visualizations out there for crop progress, both current and historic. So if you haven't been to that area of our website, lots of good stuff out there for crop progress and other programs.
Yeah, in fact, specifically, we've got something called Crop Chasma, which is a bit of a visualization utilizing that data, and then also the what we call the gridded layers. So there are a couple of products you might want to go up to our website and explore. Some of them are visualization, and some of them are data provided in a format that would be much more easily adapted to visualizations for folks who want to delve into that space with the data that we provide. And thank you for Marissa dropping those links into the chat for us. All right, let's see. We got a question here from Greg Horstmeyer. We have been noticing some delays in data hitting the website on WASD events. In the past, we've sometimes worked around this by monitoring the Cornell site simultaneously, but my understanding is the Cornell site is going away. 1, is the Cornell change true? 2, if so, what efforts are being made to limit data delays to the USDA site? I know it said WASD, but I think this is probably WASD and NASS. So Troy, I see you're off mute, so I'm going to let you jump in first.
Thank you for the question. Cornell is going away, and we are working with an organization within USDA to develop a solution to the process. So we're working with the National Ag Library to come up with another solution around so that we can continue to provide data to resolve this concern. Mark, do you have something?
Not much more to add. I was just gonna say, I'm not aware of any delays of the WASD report, going back several years. If you're experiencing a delay, if for some reason you can't access the report, please let me know. I think our release process is pretty robust, and we track those things pretty closely. So I'm not aware of, again, not aware of any delays over the past several years, but if you're experiencing something like that, let me know. And I just second what Troy said about Man Library going away. We're also working with them, working with Troy and the other agencies to develop this new system, which for us would basically serve as an archive for the historic WASD reports.
All right. Thank you, Mark and Troy. And Troy, while we're on this topic, we have another question here. Really kind of ties in with this topic. When will NASS move away from PDF data releases?
Thanks for the question. It is a program that we're currently trying to resolve right now. It is something that we are modernizing our processes. So we are targeting by the end of the year so that we can try to modernize how we are presenting the information to the public. So over the summer, we are planning on having a webinar so that informing everyone of what's going to be the transition, what's going to be the changes, so that we don't have any surprises. Lance, do you have anything extra to share?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just echo what Troy said, that we don't exactly have a timeline. It's something that we know we want to work toward in the future, is a more data-driven release and a less hard copy PDF. We determine how exactly what you see format. But we know that, the thought of something like that can be a little bit alarming. And so we just want to make sure and assure everybody that once we get to a point where we think there is something coming, number one, we will absolutely make sure folks know what that timeline looks like. Number two, as Troy mentioned, we will do some sort of webinar to literally talk specifically about what that looks like. And third, we will definitely make sure that there's what I would call maybe not so much a transition as an overlap period, where whatever that new mechanism might look like, we'll make sure it is up and running for some period of time before any PDFs would go away. So that folks would have an opportunity to become comfortable and familiar with what that new product would look like. And as Troy mentioned, this is just a part of our efforts to make sure that we're always moving forward, being as efficient and modern as we can in the way that we deliver the products. But we're certainly absolutely committed to continuing to deliver the information timely and accurate, and ensuring that everybody's got equal access at exactly the same time. So thank you for that. All right, let's move back over to the questions. Question again from Hannah Hawkins. Are there any plans to add additional years of historical data to the AMS Market News API? Jason?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of depends on what commodity you're looking for. We did close that gap in the past few months, and we got the full history for all the specialty crops commodities loaded, a lot of the retail data, and we're moving through that list as we move ahead. I think there's still a few possibly livestock and grain ones that we're going to be able to do. But if you have a specific commodity you're looking for, let us know. We might be able to provide some of that data outside the system while you're waiting for us to get that finished up.
Thank you for that, Jason. Question here from Rebecca. This question is probably for Tim from FSA. I have noticed that the CRP statistics do not have a monthly summary report published since October of 2024. Is there a plan for when the new reports should be available?
Hey, thank you for that question. I do not have an answer specifically to that at this moment, but I will look into that and I will get back with you with a written answer.
All right. Thank you, Tim. All right, let's see. Here's a question. Could you please advise where I can access data or information, numbers, locations, scales, etc., related to independent stores or grocers selling local fresh produce in each state? Jan, I guess I'm going to look to you. Any advice in that space?
Sure. Yeah, let me put a link in the chat. We have a local foods landing page. Mainly our work is like research and less data, but you can go there and get some information of that variety that they're looking for.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, let's see. Which USDA agency compiles data on total goat production in the US and the statistic number in each state? May I get a link to those data? Troy, I think we got Travis out here. Travis, you want to take a shot at that?
Yeah, thanks for the question. USDA NASS, we publish a goat inventory on an annual basis, typically the last business day in January. And that will have goat data for Angoras for 3 states and milk goat data for 30 states and meat goats for 30 states. And I'll provide the link to the most current report out there from NASS for your availability.
All right. Thank you, Travis. All right, next up, a question from Lucas. Broiler type layer flock data for April came in below expectations. Will USDA revise the poultry production outlook for 2025 based on that? Thanks. So that's outlook. So who wants to take a stab at that one?
Hey, Lance, I'll take a stab at that one real quick. This is Mike O'Connell, the World Agricultural Outlook Board, the chair of the Livestock and Dairy Committees. Yeah, I mean, quick answer to that is, yeah, that information is part of the monthly NASS release in the chicken and eggs report. Information like that will certainly be taken into consideration as we look to update the outlook going forward. So, yeah, simple answer is that yeah, we will be looking at information and updating the outlook as necessary. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. All right, question here from Greg. Are there any plans to make daily beef and pork morning reports available via API? This is only in PDF format now with a question mark.
I think, I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I think Chris Summers is on. Do you have any information on that, Chris?
The main reason that the morning reports do not have an API is it is just a subset of the afternoon report and inclusive in that afternoon report. So it is just a subset of the information. So at the present time, there's no thought process of adding that to the API.
Okay, appreciate the answer there. I got a question from Warren Prosser here. Is it possible to get the WASD CSV/historical data, consolidated data 2010 to 2025 in a CSV format updated each month, the day after the WASD release, or the following day? Yeah. Mark, any thoughts on that? Sorry.
Maybe, yeah. First of all, appreciate the interest in that data. And the real answer is I am not sure. I'll check with our IT people. And so right now it is released the following day. I'll see if we can move that up, and if so, we will. If not, unfortunately, there might be some technical reason we can't. But yeah, we'll do what we can. Appreciate the question.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. Here's an ever popular question we've gotten probably before, Troy. This is from Bevan Everett. Can the search option be re-added to the Quick Stats database? Sometimes it's not clear what category data would fall under.
Yes, it's something that we are planning on adding. Okay. We realize that it is missing and it is very valuable. So we are talking with the team to make sure that we include that in the next data dissemination too.
All right, thank you, Troy. I'm going to go ahead and read this question, but I think we've covered it. In case there's a nugget in there, anybody, Troy, if you think we need to touch on, jump back in. But from Kathy Myers, can you please talk about the changes from cornell.edu, which we did? Will this affect report releases? How will you enhance the NASS release site after the changes from Cornell? We often rely on the Cornell site to get reports on release day when the data is delayed on the NASS site. So do you want to add anything to what you shared before based on that?
I think we have covered it. We realize how valuable it is, and we want to make sure that those services remain and continue.
All right, thank you. Move that one along. All right, let's see. Mark that one. All right. Some more questions about releases. Are there plans to offer all USDA data, that would be World Board, NASS, FAS, etc., via a single streamlined API with a unified data schema instead of the current data provisioning using different APIs, XML files, PDFs, and so on? I think I'll actually take the first stab at it and say that I'm not aware of any current efforts underway to do that. It's a rather complex topic. I certainly can understand why, as a user, that would be super awesome. But because all of our programs of work are so distinct and so different, and it would be quite an effort, I think, to streamline that. We've heard that before. We're aware of it. But currently we don't have any significant efforts underway to make that happen soon. I don't see anybody coming off mute or dying to weigh in on that, so I'm going to roughly consider that one answered, I think. All right, let's see what we've got up next here. Okay, is there any queryable database that contains the WSD's biofuel use category over time? The EPA has RIN data and the EIA has a limited set of its own, but the WSD committee's number is that anywhere other than the WSD report itself?
For the World Board, we don't have any queryable database for the WSD data. Maybe Jen, ERS might, is biofuels database, something like that, where some of that data gets archived and queryable. That I'll turn it over to you, Jen, in case you're aware.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. As you know, we pull in a lot of data from the WSDA database to build out some of our yearbook tables in the biofuels database. So I would say, take a look at what we have online, and you can probably find bits and pieces here and there, including, full reproductions of historical data and recent files for a variety of different products. So I'm pretty sure we have what they're looking for on our website, but in a bunch of different individual data products.
I see Joanna came on.
Jump in here. So, I'm the chair of the oil.
Can
you hear me?
A little louder? No.
Hey,
yeah.
My audio's here. So the historical series of biomass-based diesel feedstocks use can be found on ERS's Oil Crops Yearbook. And I'll put that link in the chat. And like Jen said earlier, a good resource for feedstock use can be found in USDA's February oil crops outlook, starting on page 7. So I'll put both those links in the chat.
All right. Thank you all for that. All right, Patrick, coming your way. A question from Julie. How is USDA NASS using AI in its crop estimates?
Yeah, thanks for the question. That's actually a pretty easy one. We do not. We are still just using our regular human analysts and the regular tools that we have. We have not incorporated AI into any of our crop estimates.
All right, thank you, Patrick. There's a couple of questions here from Jerry and Julie. Troy, back on the Cornell topic, just not details, but questions about when and why it's going away.
We are still working with Cornell to develop a timeline on exactly when it will be going away. So when we have more of that information, we will be sharing it with you. And we just know that we're working towards a solution because it's just trying to modernize our processes and working within USDA.
Very good. Thank you, Troy. All right, question here from Greg. Do we have plans to release old historical WASD data in CSV formats pre-2010?
That would be me. So, we've had plans for a while to try to release the full history of the WASD in a big database. Right now, we have it from going forward from 2010. But the project is it's turned out to be much more complicated than we would have, than we thought. Maybe that's not too surprising. There's a ton of data there, and if we're going to release a data set publicly, there's an expectation from the public that each piece of data within that data set is accurate. And in this case, going back through the WASD, recognizing that commodities have changed over time, balance sheets have changed, variables have come in and out. It's just extremely complicated to pull it all into one database and make sure that everything still lines up. So, it's a project that we've tried, we've been working on. We do have kind of a prototype, but we haven't been, comfortable yet. I mean, to date with putting it out publicly with that expectation that as a government data set, it would be correct. So we'll continue to work on it in the background, but yeah, right now, no immediate plans for sure.
All right, thank you, Mark. Question here from Austin. It's my understanding that NASS surveys and Census no longer collect information on irrigated versus non-irrigated yield estimates. Is this in fact the case? And are there other sources we might look to for state or county level data related to irrigation and yield? Thank you. Patrick, I'm going back to you.
Yeah, I don't believe that's the case. I believe we are still producing irrigated and non-irrigated estimates for I guess that specific commodity isn't listed in the question as far as I can see. But if Austin has a specific concern, you'd certainly reach out and we can look into it if he believes there's a data point missing.
Yeah, I think that would be true for the census, but it is true that we're not doing that on an annual basis anymore.
Oh,
so
yes,
that might
surveys
be
and census.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was just census. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Sorry, I may have glossed over that when I read it out loud. So, but anyway, thank you, Patrick. Appreciate that. All right, let's see. There's a question from Evan. Would the USDA be willing to release historical Brazilian soybean production numbers by state? Same question for corn. So, yeah. Mark, you want to take it, or you want Joanna or Mike to be the bearer of that news?
Yeah, Joanna or Mike, you guys want to weigh in on that one?
Joanna, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So, I mean, I guess the one comment I would make about this is that we've talked about Brazil quite a bit, and I think this also covers soybeans a little bit as well too, Joanna. But while we look at, Knabe is a primary source that we use, it's not the only source, right? So it could be a combination of state agencies and other data sources that are available within country. And so it's not exactly a clean exercise in terms of what we look at. And there's a little bit of subjectivity involved in terms of the state and the time of year and the data available. And we don't even publish detailed S&Ds for EU member states, as was asked about earlier. I think Karen Braun asked about that earlier, but we don't maintain that level of data would be beyond the scope of what we probably currently do for Brazil, Joanna, unless you wanted to add something to that.
I have nothing to add to that.
All right, thank you both for that. We are very, very close to 1:20 Eastern time, so we're gonna take a short break, about 10 minutes. We'll plan to come back at 1:30 Eastern time. Just FYI, we have only a couple of questions currently unanswered in the Q&A. So you might want to use your break time to get any additional questions you have into there. Otherwise, we're actually getting pretty close to the end of the list that we currently have. So we'll see you all back here in about 10 minutes at 1:30 Eastern time, and we will forge ahead from there. All right, my clock says 1:30 here on the East Coast, so we're gonna pick up where we left off in the Q&A. We did pick up just a few more questions during the break, but just again, a quick reminder that once we run out of questions, we will probably be wrapping things up. And so don't be shy about getting your questions out there as we move through these. All right, so jumping back in, Troy, I'm going to come to you first. We've got a question from Brian Carroll. Initially, it mentions, can we bring back the ability to search the NASS QuickStats database? I know you answered that, but then he goes on to ask, or migrate the query system to an updated platform better suited for handling larger data sets. The platform is very useful, but it is showing its age. So any comments on upgrading QuickStats?
Well, that is the plan. So we're planning on modernizing our processes and how we disseminating our data. So look forward to what's going to take place in the future. So yeah, we realize that it has some age to it, and we are very excited about how we're planning on the future for how we're planning on disseminating this information. So yes.
All right, thank you, Troy.
Okay.
All right, question from Michael. Is ERS considering building a soybean database similar to the ERS grains database that allows for someone to query historical data easily instead of the current format that is an Excel file that gets released in the oil crops outlook? So Jen, looks like we're back to you.
Yeah, thanks for this question. The answer is not at this time. We're really more focused on meeting open data standards, and we release the yearbook tables in Excel and CDS formats, which hopefully are a little easier for folks to query, but not in the near term are we looking to replicate what we do for feed grains data. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jen. All right, we got a question here from Gary. The North American Millets Alliance, or NAMA, released its February National Proso Millet Grain Marketing Standards and Grades. How can NAMA get Agricultural Marketing Service and Federal Grain Inspection Service to adopt the new uniform standards for trading Proso millet grain? Jason, I think this is by far a first that we've had 2 millet questions at Data Users. So
yes, definitely. Yeah, we don't have anyone from FGS on the call, but we'll definitely talk to them and get you guys an answer in the follow-up.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, question from Hong. For FSA, do you plan to have a dashboard for the $21 billion for natural disaster recovery, covering losses from droughts, wildfires, hurricanes, and floods in 23 through 24? When will the dashboard be available? So Tim, want to take a shot at that?
Yes, thank you for the question. We have been publishing public dashboards like the ECAP one that I mentioned earlier in our call today. This question is specific to, does it give any more details, Lance, on the specific legislation?
Nope, I
that
read
you're referring
everything
to?
that was there.
Okay.
So
$21 billion disaster legislation is what the question was about. Okay. Just need to translate that into what program and programs we're implementing that into. There's obviously lots of different things going on, and I'll be able to get back with you on the dashboard for that. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Excuse me. All right, here we go. We got another arms question here. Well, actually, this one's probably going to involve several people, I think, because it's related to arms and FSA. So I'm looking at arms data for government payments, and they are different from what FSA posted. What is the difference? And so Jennifer, I think I'm going to let you start if that's okay with you.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I was hoping we might be able to promote my colleague Dipak CDB to respond to that. So we might need to start with FSA because I think we're working through the logistics of that.
Tim,
but thank you.
Tim, you want to tackle it first while we deal with that?
Sure. Thank you, Lance. I don't have a lot of familiarity with ARMS data, so I might need some help on what that posting is and what that means. Is that like USA Spending, or is that some public website where we're posting payments to producers?
All right, are we ready, Jen, from a...
Yep, yep, Dipak just joined us. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. I see him.
We have a farm income and wealth statistics data. That's the administrative data we use from FSA along with the NRCS, FEs. But in our ARMS, this is a survey data. So that's the main difference between ARMS and the FSA data. So in the ARMS web tool, we use survey data. Obviously, you know, there is a limitation in ARMS reporting total payments, as not all the payments by the respondents are not reported in the survey. And in our recently ERS published report, I'll put the link up here for your information, where you can find what are the reasons why ARMS total government payments is underreported. So there are a couple of points. First, ARMS survey frame excludes non-operator landlords, and not all the payments received by the operations are reported in the ARMS, because whenever that respondent reports payments in the farm operation, in a single farm operation, there are many farm operators. So not all the reported payments that farm received that may not be reflected in the ARMS. So that might be the couple of reasons so why ARMS total payments is underreported. And also the another point is all the information, the total payments or average payments, they are based in the calendar year, not in the fiscal year or program year.
Anything you want to add then, Tim, or you good? I think that probably covered it.
Yeah, I think that covers it. I think the actual outlays sound like they're higher because of those reasons.
Okay. Appreciate it, both of you. All right, let's.
Oh, sorry, Lance. I just wanted to note, I just put a link in the chat to an ERS research report that talks about differences between administrative data and ARM survey data. So the individual might find that useful as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. This might be a good time to just remind folks that we put a lot of links over in the chat today. And so if there's anything in there that you know you want to make sure you go capture that before the meeting ends, or you might be digging for that in about an hour. All right, so we got a question here from Amanda. Kind of a fairly long question here. Looks like Travis knows it's his, so get ready, Travis. I'm looking to reconcile values reported in the poultry production and value report and the chicken and eggs report for laying hens. Are sales of chickens, excluding broilers, from the poultry production report all laying type sales, or are those a subset of sales, perhaps only laying type hens for slaughter? Also, if someone could point me to the correct API to download these data, that would be much appreciated. So, Travis.
Thanks, Lance. Appreciate the question, Amanda. For clarification on the poultry value and production report, and probably you're trying to get ahead of today's report that comes out at 3 o'clock today for the upcoming release. That value of sales is for laying hens, table eggs, and broiler type hatching layers. So that's the clearer definition of what's included in for sold for slaughter, and then the value, the number of pounds and the value of sales that's associated there. So hopefully that clarifies your question. And if you have any additional questions, please reach out to me and we can try to solidify that for you. Thanks.
All right. Question from Bree. Is the 2022 census the most recent results to view various conservation practices on farms? For example, count of farms doing no-till, fertilizer management, cover crops, or is there more up-to-date information that captures these practices? We got a couple of folks might want to weigh in on this. I don't know if who wants to start. Brian, you want to take it first?
Sure, I can start. So yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for the question. So the census is going to be the most recent source. It's going to get you down to the county level on data for those practices. I would also mention that we have a couple other products. So we have the CPAMS highlights document that's out there. I can drop a link to that in. So that's a collaboration within our CS that the NASS has recently done, and those are ongoing. So there may be some come out, but they're not as large of a data collection as a census, so you're going to have a more specialized type of farm, for instance, or possibly a state or national level of numbers on that. I also mentioned that we do collect some of that data in the ARM survey. So Jennifer, I don't know if you want to maybe mention what ERS publishes out of that.
And thanks for the invitation. And I've got Dipak here as well. And I was wondering if, since he's still on the panel, if you might be able to comment on that. Additionally, we have Amy Boleen and Jeff Gillespie on the side as well, who may be able to provide additional context if we're able to. Great.
Yeah, we recently published a US farm business by, how many farm businesses they had a date. I think that Jen already put a link to that research report. Did you?
Sorry, to which one?
Like a US farm date. That's the ERS report. I'm one of the authors in that report too.
Let me see if I can find it. I think I might have put a separate one in there that compared administrative data, but let me see what I can.
And we use ARMS data, survey data to look at the different types of farms. We have a farm typology, and we looked into the small size, mid size, large size, very large size, even the non-family farms for that analysis.
Right, anybody else want to comment on that, or are we good?
We're good. We put an additional link in the chat that just goes to some of our conservation programs, and there's a few links there that include research reports where you can find some additional context.
Awesome. All right, we got a question here from David Lane. Are there any planned updates on the pest management survey within the NASS chemical use survey? Relatedly, are there plans to communicate the analyzed result of the pest management survey other than in the chemical use highlights? So, Brian, I think we'll flip back to you.
Right. So yeah, thanks for the question. No planned updates are known at this time, or we haven't discussed anything. In addition to those highlights, I would just mention that all of that chemical use data is published in the QuickStats database, and there's pre-canned or predefined queries that you can access those. And if you're having trouble finding that, please reach out and we'll help direct you to that.
All right, thank you, Brian. All right. Question from Jerry Goodell. After last year's dramatic drop in the USDA's U.S. corn yield, has there been any ideas how to correct the sizable error in your monthly corn yield forecast? Was this very adjustment in the producer portion of your U.S. corn yield projection? So, Patrick, I'm going to let you answer that one.
All right. Well, first of all, I think we should probably talk a little bit about the difference between the two numbers and the surveys and the data that go into each of those, and also the timing. Obviously, our last forecast of the year for corn is November 1st, and then we have a December, do a big survey in December and publish the final in January. Harvest last year for corn was ahead of average. But there was still some corn harvested after November 1st, the November 1st reference period, or reference point for our November survey. Also, the questions that were asked and the sample sizes were dramatically different. It's two different surveys, different procedures. You would expect slightly different results. We had a little over 5,000 samples in our November survey, and we had over 70,000 samples in our December survey. Again, so different surveys conducted at different times of the year, you expect slightly different results. I think the user or the person who asked the question referenced it as an error. I don't know if I'd classify it as an error, just different procedures, different timing, and slightly different results. It was about a 2% change, I believe, which is, it's on the higher end, but certainly not out of the ballpark completely. We do always go back and review our procedures. We haven't made any significant changes to our procedures year over year for the two surveys in question, but we always do go back and review everything. We would like those numbers to be, dialed in and as close as possible. But the way last year finished, it was very dry. We saw, moisture content in some of those bushels taken off, especially late, was extremely low. And I think a number of those factors, so agronomic factors, also played into the reports that we received from farmers from November to December.
All right, thank you for that, Patrick. I got a question here. I believe this was a follow-up from an earlier question, because it opens with "to add." How many get direct loans from USDA, and if the total loan amount and limit would increase? I'm not sure about the would increase part, but Tim, I think that's probably outside of your scope from a loan perspective, but I know USDA does, or FSA does have some work in that space. I don't know if you want to make any comment there, or if anybody else wants to jump in.
Lance, I know USDA does make direct and guaranteed loans. As far as a unique producer count or total dollars, I don't know that off the top of my head. Also it doesn't mention in which year they're talking. So if we're talking fiscal year 25 or 24, but I absolutely can look into that and get you guys some answers.
Appreciate that, Tim. All right, let's see. All right, question from Carl Skold. For ERS, the USDA provides monthly protein and livestock flows in spreadsheets and a large Excel spreadsheet. Would it be possible to put the spreadsheet data for each commodity, beef, cattle, pork, hogs, chicken, in separate or more useful way to download? Current way is cumbersome.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Carl, and for that feedback. I apologize that it's cumbersome presently. We're taking strides to produce fewer files, which requires less behind the scenes work to post and more. But we're really still focused on open data initiatives and making our products machine readable. So as we convert more of those Excel files into machine readable formats, hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier to pull the information that you want without having to have us separate those and make individual postings for each commodity. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Question here from David Lane, just to see if I can pronounce this word. I think, could NASS please survey neonicotinoid seed treatments in the chemical use survey? Ryan, you want to answer that without having to say the word?
Sure, I'll try. That's definitely something we can look into. I'll pose that to the team and see if that's an option that can be added to that program.
All right, thank you. Another question around quick stats, actually a couple more. I'll probably do them back to back for you, Troy. First, from Terry Griffin, up until about 2022, I was occasionally meeting with a group, I think it was Steampunk, who were updating QuickStats dashboard and API. I was part of the usability testing as an end user. Has this effort to update QuickStats ceased?
Well, the entire program has not ceased. And Terry and everyone, thank you for sharing your experience and doing this usability testing, because they're for the quick stats as well as APIs, because we realized there were many uses for quick stats, and the information that you shared has basically provided the basis for how we're planning on disseminating the data in the near future. So we appreciate it. It has not ceased, but we're building on it and making it better. And I appreciate everyone. Thanks for the question.
Hey, don't go too far, Troy. Question from Austin Pierce. Technical question related to NASS QuickStats API. How many requests are too many? Last I checked, I didn't find any documentation from NASS API on how many requests are too many. I would give a 429 error. Not sure if you remember that record limit or not, Troy. I'm trying to remember myself.
I do not, but I have, Lance, shared the question with our staff to try to get a response to that. So hopefully before the session has ended, we will have a response so that we can share it with everyone.
Yep, appreciate that.
Thanks.
All right, let's see. Really easy one here from Gary. Will this program be available to view later? Yes, it will. We will post both a recording of everything that we've done here today, and then also we'll have a transcript of the Q&A as well as the booklet. Will all be available on our website in the next number of days. All right, so let's see. Another question here from Austin Schroeder. Is there any effort to track the dairy cattle / dairy cross cattle in feedlots? Travis, you want to answer that one first, or does anybody else want to? Anybody have anything going on in that space?
Lance, I can take a stab at it first. Appreciate the question, Austin. As cattle producers and folks in the cattle feedlot industry, there's been questions pertaining to this question itself on can NASS actually publish how much dairy influence are going in on a monthly basis in the cattle and feed report. Unfortunately, with our current structure, we're asking how many cattle, regardless of the genetic makeup, if it's dairy or beef influence on those cattle. So at this time, we do not intend to gather that information as part of the multi-processing.
All right. Thank you, Travis. All right, let's see here. There we go. New question here. Leasing ag land for solar power generation is growing in the Western US. Is there any plan to gather data related to solar lease payments and solar related income for farmers in future surveys / censuses? Brian, do you have any comment on what we have around
Yeah, I can
that space?
comment on, yes, at least what we do now, and then you know, in the future, I think that may change based on how the data is kind of driving the increase of that. So currently, we do on the Census of Agriculture ask for renewable energy. We did see quite an increase in that. I think it was around 15% or so increase from the previous census. And a large majority of that were solar panels. We would also pick up that income in the census for under farm-related income. And I would also mention that on the ARM survey, we collect similar information to the census. And I believe ERS publishes some information on that. I don't know if we have specifically the dollars for solar, but Jennifer, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. And I would again go to Jeff Hawk and ask if he is familiar with solar data in the ARMS data product and if he can provide more information.
Jen, and for others, we don't have data on the solar, you know, the data ag land information in ARMS.
Thank you. I knew you'd know. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you all for that. All right, question from Henry Yang. NASS QuickStats entries for sorghum used in fuel alcohol production have consistently shown values of 0 or been marked as D since April of 2021. I'm aware that the EIA publishes a monthly feedstocks report that includes sorghum usage for biofuel production. Does the USDA collect this data through another channel? Or are there any plans to resume or expand reporting on sorghum used in ethanol production? Thanks. Patrick, looks like I'm coming back to you.
All right, yeah, thanks for the question. Our crack team of researchers here have helped me identify that in September 2023, we stopped producing estimates for sorghum consumed for fuel alcohol. Prior to that, I went and looked at some of the releases. We did we did collect data, but we were unable to publish it. That's the difference between a 0 and a D in QuickStats. A D stands for disclosure, where we are unable to. We did collect data, but we were unable to publish to avoid disclosing information provided to us by individual firms. So I am not aware of any other USDA agency that collects these data, and I don't believe that NASS is planning on bringing them back anytime soon. So hopefully that addresses the question.
Thank you for that. All right. Again, just as an FYI, there's only a few questions left in the Q&A at the moment. And so now would be the time to get some more in there if you have them before we run out and cut things off. So here we go. Does any data set or study have information on AGI of farms for the purposes of new Farm Bill and new programs that are being rolled out? Will there be exceptions as before for new programs? Yeah. I'm not sure anybody's really going to have, I don't see anybody dying to get off mute because I don't think we have, I'm not aware of anything in that space. If anybody else is, please jump in. Jennifer, looks like you're.
Yeah, only to say, I mean, we don't,
Yeah.
not in terms of the program, but we do have reports on household adjusted gross income in the ARMS web tool. And so if there's interest in that, they can certainly go to the ARMS, do a custom query and get information there.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Short question here on quick stats. Will the quick stats limits increase? I think I think Troy's touched on that. The fact that eventually we do hope to modernize and upgrade quick stats. Until that happens, I believe the limit is a limitation that the current structure has. You want to add anything, Troy?
Yes, sure. And going back to the original question pertaining towards quick stats, quick stats rate limiting is used to control the frequency of requests or actions a user or system can perform within a given time frame. So it's 100 calls within 5 minutes. Okay, so this helps prevent excessive use of NASS web servers and database resources, protects against malicious activities such as bots, and ensures a fair access for all users. So that's the information that I've received from my staff. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone, for sharing.
All right, thank you, Troy. You never knew you were going to be the quick stats guru today, did you? So, all right. Question here from John Kerrigan. Is there state-specific data for exports to specific countries? It says in NASS doesn't do exports, but Ryan, do you want to take that one? Any state-specific data for exports to specific countries? Maybe we lost Ryan.
This is James Kaufman at ERS. I can jump in here quickly for Ryan. I think that FAS would have lots of answers here, but there are a few state-specific data products for exports. At ERS, we have the state trade by county of origin, which we can provide a web link that shows the top exports by state for the top commodities. FAS GATS also has state exports by country, and those should align to some degree with the countries that are aligned that are reported in NASS. There you go.
All right, thank you for that, James. Hopefully you all aren't picking up the helicopter noise from my microphone here, but they've been flying over this afternoon. All right, so this is the last question I currently have in the Q&A, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it. This is kind of your last call to get some more questions in there, I guess. Do non-family farms get government payments from new programs? How much government payment is allocated for government payments for poultry producers? Tim, I guess I'm going to start with you since we're talking about government payments.
Hey, Lance, thank you for doing so. I think there's many different areas of USDA that issue payments, not just FSA, but if we assume they're talking about programs under the American Relief Act or some new legislation, I'll take the first part of the question here, non-family farms. Generally speaking, as well as the programs in the American Relief Act, farms that are structured as legal entities are eligible to apply for those programs. So, for example, your family farm might be structured as an LLC or a corporation or a general partnership. They are eligible to apply for those programs. They do submit documentation to FSA and USDA. Generally speaking, through the CCC 902, 903, where they are telling us who are the shareholders or who has an interest in that operation. Are they actively engaged in farming, things like that. So there are absolutely provisions there for us to know who the payments are going to, and things like that, some safeguards in there. The second part of the question, we do have programs that cover poultry. We have livestock programs that are disaster programs and permanent legislation. We talked a little bit earlier about the ECAP program. That's a commodity-based program in the market assistance specialty crop program, obviously fruit, nut, specialty crops program. So neither one of those are specific to poultry, nor is there dollar amounts allocated specific to poultry. But we do have more permanent programs that cover livestock. And if and when there's a livestock-based program under the American Relief Act, FSA will absolutely do a press release and absolutely do outreach to make sure that our livestock producers are aware of when the sign-up period for that is, and we would love to have them apply if and when any such program like that were to be announced. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. All right, somebody heeded my warning and put another question out there. Is there any data on farms or farmers level marketing decision for mitigating price risk? A couple of folks might have interest in that topic. Jen, you want to take it at least first?
Sure. Yeah, and here again, I would point Vicas towards our research. I'm going to put a link here in the chat for all to our risk management landing page on the ERS website. We'll put some other links in there too if we find some that might be relevant.
Okay. All right. As of the moment, I do not see any other questions that we haven't addressed in the Q&A. So very quickly, this is your last chance to get a question in there before we kind of wrap things up. We do have a little bit of time left, and so we'll give you just a moment if you've got another question to type in there. Awkward silence. All right. There we go. Is there any data that will be released for livestock depredation from wolves? A lot of students are researching this topic right now. Travis, do you want to talk a little bit about any of the work that we've done in kind of that space?
Appreciate the question, Meredith. The agency that oversees the release of livestock losses based on different predator is USDA APHIS NASS folks. They conduct the studies and release their additional data or the detailed data pertaining to various livestock, and they have a reoccurring process depending on what commodity, if it's cattle, sheep, goats, hogs. They're doing it on a rotating basis. So I would encourage you, and I'll put the link in the chat here in a second, but the NASS is the source of that data information out there from USDA standpoint.
Thank you, Travis. Appreciate that. All right. Seeing no additional questions, I think we're going to go ahead and move forward on wrapping things up. So first of all, a big thank you to all of our panelists and other technical experts who assisted us with answering all of your great questions here today. In addition to getting the questions answered, I hope you picked up on the commitment that we have here at USDA to make sure that we're serving everyone across agriculture, including you, our data user community. I also hope you picked up on how closely we work together across USDA to help ensure that our programs complement each other and draw on each other's strengths. Thank you to our attendees. You're important to us. Thank you for taking the time from your busy schedules, not only to join today, but really to engage with us in this process this afternoon. And then last but not least, from a thank you perspective, certainly a big thank you goes out to both Marissa and Vincent. I am not kidding you when I tell you this meeting does not happen without their help and support. So thank you, Marissa and Vincent. We certainly greatly appreciate that. As we look ahead, as I mentioned earlier, we consider this our twice a year meeting. So looking ahead to the fall when we anticipate having our next data users meeting, we're tentatively planning to move back to a hybrid event in October. We've been having some conversations with folks out in Iowa to see if we can get an event coordinated out there back with the LMIC industry outlook meeting as we've done in past years. And so just keep an eye out on that. As you know, from how things kind of unfolded for this meeting this spring, situation's a little bit fluid. And so I don't want to share too many specifics at this point until we're sure things are locked in and moving forward. But we definitely will plan to host a meeting again this fall. And right now we're hoping it's a hybrid event. So for those of you who would like to join in person, we hope to have an option for that. But certainly whatever we do, we'll have an opportunity for folks to join virtually. So that'll definitely be an option. Thank you again for an excellent turnout. All of us are listening, and we value the input that you've provided through the questions that we asked today, and then the various conversations that we have with you outside of this meeting. With your continued help, we can review what we do and improve the products and services that we provide here at USDA. You will get an evaluation emailed from Marissa probably tomorrow. Please give us feedback on this meeting. We welcome your suggestions for improvement, your thoughts on the virtual versus hybrid format, thoughts on the booklet that you either received or will see on the website, and then also any ideas that you have for future breakout sessions. If you don't know, there are some of these meetings where we will actually have breakout sessions as well based on interest and what's happening at our agency. So if you've got feedback or ideas for that, please share that with us as well. So with that, I'm going to bring things to a close. Thanks again for joining, and please enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.